Hello and welcome to your second R tutorial video. In this video I'm going to teach you how to import data from a spreadsheet into R. Now there's two reasons I'm showing you this video now. The first reason is this method of importing data should be easy for a beginner to understand and relate to. Regardless of your background, even if you don't have a programming background, you've probably used Excel on some level, and it's for someone without any programming experience, it's probably the easiest type of data import to relate to. The second reason I'm showing you this is it shows an important difference between using R on a Mac and using R on a Windows machine. And unfortunately, in these tutorials, one of those differences pops up early. I wanted to show you that exception early on so you could be prepared for it and not be surprised with it. With that said, R tries to do a good job of being consistent across platforms, and in general it does a really good job. I would say 99.9% of the time a command that will work on R on a Mac will also work on R on a Windows machine. So just keep that in mind. This is just one of those tiny little exceptions that pops up, and it's going to pop up early in this tutorial. Now in order to show you this exception, I'm going to have to skip a few important lessons, but only just for the time being. So if you're watching this tutorial and you feel like, hey, wait a minute, Gordon, you're going a little bit too fast there, don't worry. I'm going to, in the lessons that immediately follow this, I'm going to take a few steps back, show you some of the information that I'm skipping over just for the sake of this lesson, and hopefully get you caught up to speed later. I'm not saying don't watch this video. But I do think if you're a little bit confused by it, I think some of that confusion will be cleared up by later lessons. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm going to jump away from the RStudio application. I'm going to jump over to the spreadsheet application. So let's go ahead and do that now. And in this case, I'm using a program called LibreOffice Calc, but you'll notice that it's very similar to Excel. And anything that you type in Excel and try and copy, if you try and copy what I'm doing in this video using Excel instead, it'll work exactly the same as me using the LibreOffice application. So I'm going to go ahead and make up some data. I'm going to put it in a particular format, and it's a format that's very common across data analysis. The format of the data is going to have column headings and observations underneath each of those column headings. And it's very common in a lot of stats programs like statistics programs like SAS, SPSS, Stata. It's very common in databases, like if you make an Access database or if you have access to a SQL server. That format's going to be very similar. You're going to have column headings with observations underneath. And also, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, a lot of people who write Excel spreadsheets decide to put information in this form with column headings and observations underneath. So this format I'm going to use is very common across data analysis. So I'm going to go ahead and make up some column names, and I'm going to call this first column names for like name of a person. So I'll call it names. Second column, I'll make a gender column. Third, occupation, and last, food, for favorite food. Let me do this, food. Excuse me. Okay, so the first, I'm going to make up a name, Romeo. It's going to be male. Occupation, clown. And his favorite food is tuna. If you have a Romeo, we need a Juliet. Female, magician, and she likes sausage. We have an Oscar, who's a male. His job is hobo, and his favorite food is melons, are melons. Let's have a Sierra, female. She's unemployed, and her favorite food is kimchi. Okay, now to get this data out of the spreadsheet and into R, I'm going to have to copy everything. So as you can see there, I have all this data highlighted. I'm going to go up to Edit menu and Copy. Now if you decided to use the keyboard shortcut to copy, that would work too. I've just decided to go up and use the Edit Copy command. Now that I have it copied and it's on the clipboard, I'm going to switch back to RStudio, and I'm going to click the source up here on the upper left hand side. Now everything I'm going to type up here in the source, you could, if you wanted to, type down here on the lower left hand side in the console and it will work just fine. But my advice to you is to get into the habit of typing everything in the source, and there's a few reasons for that. One of the reasons is that if you type everything in the source, it's easy to save all the commands that you had. It's easy to recycle commands that are useful. It gives you a record of everything that you've done, so it makes everything a little bit cleaner. So in order to import the data, I need to give it a name of a variable in which to import the data. So I'm just going to make up a name. The name isn't important. I'm going to call this data set winners. And I'm going to have an assignment operator. And what an assignment operator is as you can see, the assignment operator is a lesson sign and a dash next to it. And when you put those symbols next to each other, it looks like an arrow. And that's really the idea behind what this assignment operator is. It's going to take whatever's on the right-hand side of the arrow, and I haven't typed anything in there yet. I'm going to type in a minute. I'm going to take whatever's on the right-hand side of the arrow, calculate it, evaluate it, do whatever it needs to do, take the results, and dump it into whatever's on the left-hand side of the arrow. So that's what an assignment operator is. I'm going to type a function, and I'm going to go ahead and type this in, and I'll explain what it does in a minute. Okay, so this first part right here where it says read.thelim, that tells R that it's going to read from a special type of data, and that type of data includes spreadsheet applications. Now this stuff that's in the middle here, this pipe PB paste, that's something special to a Mac system. So long story short, this whole command here, read.thelim pipe PB paste, tells R, okay, I need to read something. I'm using a Mac machine. I need to read something in a spreadsheet format, and I need to dump it into a data set called winners. Now to execute this command, there's two things I could do. I could either hit the run command on the upper right hand side of the source window up here, or I could type command enter. I tend to like using the keyboard shortcuts, so I'm going to type command enter and send it to the console. And as you can see on the console on the lower left hand side, the whatever I typed in the source got sent to the console and it got executed. What is a little bit new, at least for these videos, is if you notice on the upper right hand side, we have something new popping up in the workspace tab, and it looks like we have a data set called winners, 4 observations, 4 variables. This should come as no surprise. If you recall the data that we typed in 4 people, and we had 4 columns of data, 4 observations, 4 variables. Each of the columns is called a variable. Each of the rows is called an observation. Now, to view this data, there are probably more than 2 ways, but there's 2 main ways that I'm thinking of off the top of my head to take a look at this data and see if it got imported correctly. One way is to click up here in the workspace tab and click on the data called winners, and what that's going to do is it's going to open up a new tab on the upper left hand corner of the RStudio session. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. You see that it's covered up the source and it's showing us the winners data. And as you can see, it looks exactly the same as what we typed into our spreadsheet application, which is good. That's exactly what we wanted. That's exactly what we expected. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this tab. Now you might be worried, well, wait a minute. If you close this tab, is the data going to go away? It's not. What this is actually just showing us is it's showing us what the data looks like, but if I close this tab, the data is still going to be there. There would be another step that I would have to do if I actually wanted to get rid of the data. So I'm going to click this X on the upper left hand side. My data won't go away. You notice even though the tab did go away, on the upper right hand side on the workspace window, you can see that winners is still there. It hasn't gone away. Now if you another way to look at the data and see if it got imported correctly is up here in the source window. The cursor's up in the source window right now. I'm going to type winners. I'm going to type command enter, to send it into the console window. As a reminder, if you're using a Windows system, you would type Control Enter. But on a Mac, you type Command Enter. I'm going to do that. And as you can see down in the console, it executed winners. And as you can see below that, I can see the data set underneath there being printed out. And again, looks exactly like what I typed into the spreadsheet application. Everything looks great so far. Okay, so you might be asking, well, all right, it sounds like this command is specific to a Mac. How do I do this if I'm on a Windows machine? And I'm going to show you that now. And I'll just go ahead and type and explain what it is after I'm done typing. And you'll notice that the beginning looks exactly the same. The only difference is what I put inside this read the lim function. So on the left-hand side, on the left-hand side, everything's the same. I would import it into a data set called winners. I would have that assignment operator. I would read the lim, read.the_lim, because I'm still reading from a spreadsheet application. But what goes inside the parentheses is a little bit different because we'd be using a different machine at this point. This clipboard, if I was on a Windows machine, that's what I would use to read to anything that I've copied to the clipboard on a Windows machine. Unfortunately, if I try to do this on a Mac, and I'll go ahead and try that now, you'll see that when I send it to the console, that I get this cryptic 3-line error. And long story short, I get that error because a Mac doesn't know how to handle this command. And likewise, if I tried to type this command that I have on line 1 on a Windows machine, I would get a similar cryptic error. Basically, the Windows machine doesn't know how to handle that kind of command. So really, you just have to remember that if you're on a Windows machine, you're going to have to use this top command that I have highlighted right here. If you are on a Mac, you're going to have to use this top line. If you're on a Windows machine, you're going to have to use this command that I have in line 4 in order to read your data. Okay, so on future videos, I'm going to be importing data from spreadsheets. Just keep in mind that if you're following along on a Windows machine, you're just going to have to use this read.the_lim clipboard instead. So I think that's enough for now. I'm going to teach you some more basic stuff in later videos, and I'll see you guys soon.